beating burnout. The WHO talks about burnout as a syndrome conceptualized as a result from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. And they talk about feeling unappreciated, increased mental distance from one's job, monotonous, unchallenging work can cause that, feelings of negativity and cynicism related to one's job, and reduced professional efficacy. So before we go to breakout rooms, I wonder if anybody wants to unmute themselves and speak up about how you're feeling. I mean, what are you feeling the burnout? What aspects of this are causing you stress and anxiety? I'm curious if anybody wants to share before we jump into a breakout room.
I would say that one of the issues, this is me personally, is that I am the type of person that I take energy from people. So presenting, for example, virtually is a massive toll on me. And I also think in general, I don't get the same body cues and energy that I do from people when I'm in person. And so the fact that this has now been a very, very long time of mostly virtual has been a real challenge for me because I've just discovered that video, while it's nice to see people, and I do think that's one way at least that we can combat it a little bit is by being able to see each other and people have cameras on. I'm not getting the gratification. And I also feel at the end of the day, I am way more burnt out than I have ever been before. And I have the same number of meetings with the same number of people, but when it was in person, it was my energy level was being fed by other people. And I felt productive and interactive, whereas right now I don't feel that way.
Thank you so much. Anybody else want to share something that's happening in their world?
I think I'm a lot like Aaron, that I thrive on other people's energy and being in live events, corporate events, that sort of thing, and not having those for close to 18 months or whatever has been really difficult. And I think now that we're getting kind of back to some normalcy, I've got an event coming up, first one in Las Vegas next week. And it's now feeling like a flood, like, everything is coming at me. And I'm like, I don't even remember how to do what I did 18 months ago. It's just like, now I feel like I'm drowning. And just because I've got so many things on my plate. And like you mentioned earlier, I think marketing departments as a whole are being charged with doing so much on a thin, it's just a little overwhelming.
Does anybody feel like, as we go back to in-person things, it's not that we're replacing all of the virtual stuff with in-person, we're just adding it on and it's adding more stress and anxiety because we're piling on, now you're expected to be on the Zoom call at 8 a.m. and then be in person at the office at 9 a.m. or something like that. Anybody experiencing that?
I think the one thing that I've been kind of advocating with my team is, the work from home kind of means you're living at work almost. So, you wake up and you're available for calls, whereas there's not that break between commute and getting into the office and stuff like that. So I think the thing that I'm trying to build or to focus on now is, starting calls at 6 is fine. Going through block on my calendar, I'm like, this is the time I'm going to work out, and then I'm done for the day. Mm-hmm. And so I think the last year was I feel like last year was a really clear gap between what was work and what wasn't work, because you were always from home. And now with the kind of blurred lines between what's the work from home work and kind of you're available anytime, versus what's the gap between that and then travel, for example, is something I'm doing a lot of right now, and that just adds on a whole lot of time. Or right now I'm in the office and it's still calls start at 6 a.m. But I'm somewhat expected to be available in person until at least 5 o'clock. So I think it's just that it's on everyone to set the boundaries themselves and encourage a culture of for what they need, and not sort of immediately go back to the 9 to 5 in the office culture pre-pandemic.
Strategies to overcome burnout: making friends, taking breaks from work, relaxing, sleeping, leaning on and nourishing your passions. So how many of you took up a new hobby during COVID? Did you learn something new? Stacy, do you want to share the hobby you picked up during COVID?
Yes. Oh, sorry. I guess I wasn't on mute already. Lots of long walks around my neighborhood, discovered all kinds of hidden little paths and little forests and things like that. And I also, for quite a while, I was painting rocks. I actually bought rocks at Lowe's and painted them and like left them on my walks for people to find.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah,
That-
that's fun.
And it's probably nice for you to know that somebody's picking those up, hopefully, and taking them home and enjoying them.
I did like thinking about that. So who knows?
So it's as much for you as the recipient in some
Oh,
ways.
totally. Yeah.
Anybody else want to share? And also, I'm curious if there's a tip or strategy that came up during your conversation that's not here on the list. Is there something else that you all heard in the room, or something else? Does anybody else want to share a new hobby or talent they picked up?
I took up foraging this fall in particular. So foraging for mushrooms and shellfish and stuff like that, which has been really relaxing. And it kind of came down to something that we've started doing with staff, where if we have an internal meeting where we don't need a computer or anything like that to walk through something, it's just a catch up. Been really advocating for to take that back to calling on a cell phone, which seems wild. But it's been really great just to get people outside. They can walk the dog, just walk around the neighborhood and just kind of get some fresh air, because I think we're spending, I regularly will think about at 3 o'clock, oh, I haven't been outside today, or I haven't been outside since yesterday. And so I think just, those little things can be helpful in getting people a bit of a break from sitting at their desk and staring at a screen or staring at a Zoom as well.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I wanted to share something that actually this is what Leandy had shared with me, and I actually wrote it down because I thought it was so good. But she said instead of managing her time, she's managing her energy. And we just had a meeting recently at work. It was marketing and sales, and we were talking about the same topic, which is very interesting that this came up. But we were talking mindful meditation and being mindful, and I'm going to apply that immediately, because we can tell so much from our energy. And so she said, and you can speak for yourself if you want, but she said that when she finds herself in a bad state, she'll stop and she'll do something else for a little bit that brings that good energy. So I really liked that. That's real practical, I think. So
that's a great tip. So in our recap, we need to say, Leandy McMurphy says, manage your energy, not your time, right?
I'm the introvert, so I don't like being put on the spot. Yes.
Sorry about that, but it's great.
No,
It's a
you're
great
all good.
insight. It's a great insight. Anybody else want to share one thing? And then I've got a couple more tips, and then we'll let everybody go. I inherited my grandmother's trumpet that it's a 93-year-old trumpet. Started taking trumpet lessons in January, and I'm not yet good, but I'm trying, and it's been definitely relaxing and cathartic, not for the rest of my family, but for me, it's been great. The other thing is I also considered taking up archery, but it has way too many drawbacks. All right, if anybody wants one final comment, we can do that. But also, I just want to pull up, these are 4 tips from the Better Business Bureau about how to get your team to avoid burnout. I love that idea, Charles, of like getting on the cell phone and making people go outside and have the call from outside. Setting communications boundaries, conducting regular and meaningful check-ins with employees, of course, being flexible. I mean, just allowing some space and flexibility, and then promoting physical and mental well-being. I thought all 4 of those were really good tips. Any last comment or suggestion? You will be getting a survey from us, about the event, but anybody else want to share something?
I actually do, Joe.
Great.
Yeah, so similar to Stacy, I went on a lot of walks, but they started off as like dance walks in my neighborhood late at night, so no one would see, except for all the Ring doorbells. But yeah, so I just would dance, and then the dancing turned into walking, which turned into running, and then I ended up like running races. So like, highly recommend just letting loose in your neighborhood on your driveway. It relieves so much stress. So. And you'll find out that you can actually groove in, or your body can move in interesting ways, maybe embarrassing ways, but it's a fun time.
Love it. I love it. We knew here at Setup about Madeline's most recent race, but I think I didn't really know about the dancing that turned into walking, that turned into running. So that's final thought.
I was going to say, as a runner, I totally identify with that because I've been a runner, and I had the kind of the next level experience where I signed up for a marathon, and I'd never done a marathon, and I ended up doing Chicago just a week and a half ago, and it was a great, amazing experience. The city is amazing, and I'd done half marathons, but never a full, and so you can always take it to the next level and push yourself. I'm getting older, but I'm running the best times I've ever run ever. So you should always, I think, just apply yourself and it'll work out.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, true to form, this is, it's 12:30 Eastern time. I hope you booked an hour for today's conversation and that you'll use the next half hour to go do something to disconnect or relax or alleviate some of the burden from burnout. Thank you so much for joining us. The next one is February 10th. If you go to setup.us/events, you can see the link where you can sign up for the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day.